Welcome to The Release Show. I'm your host, Brittany Sconyers. On today's show, we have Tera Stidum. Tera isn't just another independent woman. She's a motivator that lives her life with passion and purpose. She's a 5-time Emmy-nominated TV producer and has spent 22 years taking other stories and bringing them to life on the big screen. She is also a dating coach and has her own company called She Dates Savvy. Tera hosts dating workshops, one-on-one dating coaching sessions to singles, successful professionals who want to navigate the world of dating, both online and off. She is also a famous voice in the industry and has appeared on CBS, Fox, OWN, and Houston Chronicles. She recently released her second self-published book, Smart Girls Still Don't Date Down. Let's welcome Tera.
Hey, Brittany, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. All right, well, let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
You are a 5-time Emmy-nominated TV producer who is challenging title to give for most producers. Can you share with us what started your journey as a producer?
Absolutely. That's one of those stories where I actually, when I was in college, I thought I was going to be a writer. Right, write for newspapers and that kind of thing. Because newspapers were still the thing all those many years ago. And I was just convinced that's what I was going to do. And what happened is my last semester of school, I decided, well, let me try this TV thing. I don't think that's what I want to do, but let me try it so I can just check it off and say no. And the bug completely bit me. I actually loved it. It was interesting and exciting. And I'm a people person, right? And so I enjoy talking to people. And so I started off as an intern at a local morning show here, and that moved into me being hired as a PA and then hired as an AP. And then I moved over into the syndicated world. I did court shows, and then the thing about TV is you meet people and it's truly one of those relational type of situations, right? Where it's like you hear people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's absolutely true. And so from that first show, I met someone who was, she worked here in Houston with me and then she moved to LA. And when I was ready to move to LA, she's like, hey, come and work. So the show that we worked for was a Dr. Phil show. And so did that show for a couple of years. In between, I still did a little bit of court. So my first Emmy nomination was for a show for divorce court, right? It was for divorce court. And that's when they added the category of court shows. And so that was exciting. Then while at Dr. Phil, I was also nominated for Daytime Emmy for producer writer. So again, you're attached to the show, your name goes on the award or on the list for the award. And then after moving back to Houston in 2014, started working locally here in news. And then over the last few years have gotten 3 more, So, and usually these are team effort things. The really cool thing about the one for divorce court is it was for a show. I was working as a, I think they call it segment producer. So I was putting the show together, editing on the back end, the string outs. And so I really felt most proud of that one because that was one where intellectually I put that show together. I made it make sense. And I was like, oh my God. So that was really, really cool. And again, I always tell people when they talk about my accolades in my career, the crazy thing is when you're in the business and you're in it every day, you never really stop and say, oh my God, I just got it. No, because you're on to the next thing, right? You're on to the next job, the next booking. And so it's really cool now to, all these years later to hear someone reading it off and like, you know what, I did do all those great things. This is an amazing career. So that's how that whole TV life and TV world started. And again, got to the point of having those nominations. I'm still waiting for my gold. I'm like, please don't let me be the Suze Orman, right? Somebody told me recently, they said, you know what, Tera, you're going to win that Emmy, but I believe it's going to be for your own show. And I'm like, I receive it. So.
Yes, receive that, honey. Receive it. And congrats on all your success. Yes, I love it. What are some of the top projects that you've worked on and what makes them memorable?
Oh my goodness. So that's a great question. So the first court television show that I ever did was a show called Texas Justice.
Okay.
And at the time, I had no clue what the court genre would turn into, right?
Mhm.
This is many years ago. And this is back when maybe there was Mathis and Judge Judy,
Mhm.
right? And Judge Joe Brown, right? Those were our competitors. But the cool thing about Texas Justice was that we had a very innovative team of executive producers, and they came from the talk show world. And so instead of it just being two people arguing about, hey, Sally owes me some money and I want it,
Mhm.
she was so story driven that she basically taught us how to produce a court show that very much so resembled a talk show, right? And so the people
Okay.
would come and they would tell their stories and they would get into all the drama of things. And then at the end, it would be like, oh yeah, and I'm suing her for $2 because she, took my bubble gum out my purse. So that was really one of those exciting times in life, because what we could definitely track and see was that when we would do something, the next thing you knew, other shows were doing it. So I know that we were trendsetters when it came to the court genre, and how people presented their evidence. And, we did like 3D animations and reconstructions of car accidents. But before then, we had like a little poster board and people going up and driving the little car across the poster board. And, it was just a really fun time. We brought animals into court. And so looking back at that, it's like, whoa, that completely shaped the way that those shows were produced back then. And so I think being a part of that, when I look back career-wise, that was just an exciting time. It was an exciting time.
Mhm. That's so great. Thank you. So let's talk about you being a dating coach. It's beautiful to watch you share your experience in the dating scene with other women who struggle to find love. What inspired you to become a beacon of hope?
So here's the really funny thing. So you just heard about my TV career.
Yes.
With the TV career came a lot of long hours, a lot of time spent away from the normal things that people do. You don't work banker's hours when you do TV, right? It's not a 9 to 5. And so there were times where you go to work at 7 or 8 in the morning and you may not leave until 10 or 11, the next, later that night. There was a time when I spent 24 hours at a show. Never want to do that again in my life. So I didn't have a lot of time. And so what really made sense for my life when it came to dating and relationships, because I always love dating. Like, I'm that girl where it's like, I like to date. For me, online dating really made a lot of sense, right? It just was practical. I know most people now shop for their groceries online because we're in a pandemic, but I'm like, no, honey, I've been shopping for men online for many, many years, right? You go look at the profiles, you scroll up and down. And that's really what I looked at online dating as. And so once I got to a place where I was like, okay, ready for a real and a good relationship, let me go back online, because again, it made sense for my life. I was a single mom with my kid. I didn't want to go out all the time. I went online and I met the guy who would eventually become my husband. That was about 6 years ago, right? 6 years ago. And after we met, we got engaged, a little bit of time in between. But after we got engaged, a girlfriend said, Tera, I'm so excited you met your guy, but, I don't know how to do this. Like, do I have to put my pictures on there? Do I have to put my name? And I told her, I said, I'm going to teach you ladies how to do it. And Brittany, from my mouth to God's ears, I said it, right? And I just thought at the time, I'm going to do a one-time class. Right? I laughed like, okay, girl, I got your one-time class. And I got off the phone with her, picked up my phone, did some notes in my notes folder, and said, if I was teaching a class, what all would I like for ladies to know? Now, interestingly enough, my time at the Dr. Phil show had prepared me for this, because we were doing shows on romance scams and people being paid for money and things like that. So I knew that there was definitely an educational component that had to happen. And so I literally mapped it out. the blessing of it all is that the man I was marrying helps people get their small businesses off the ground. And so I told him, I'm like, babe, I think I want to, do a class. I want to do something. And he's like, I see it so much bigger. He's like, it's so much bigger. And I'm like, I don't know the bigger. You figure that out. All I want to do is show up. And so what started as a conversation with a girlfriend was me putting it out there. And the minute I put it out there on my personal social media, right? Because you're building a brand. You got to get people to follow the other side. So all I knew how to do was ask Tera, say, hey, here's what I'm doing. And my friends ate it up. Like my friends ate it up. And the ones who were friends who were still in production started calling me, hey girl, come be on the show. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so it really started with that. And based on like when we look at business, for business, you always know, like, is there a need for it? There was a need because there were women who wanted to do it, but just didn't know how to do it. And so I said, why not me, right? Like, why not me? Especially because I know, Brittany, that there was still this big stigma around online dating. So if I, as a professional career woman, attractive lady with I'm perfectly fine, but it just makes sense for me. If I shared my story, more women who were just like me would also say, hey, I could do that too. So that's really how it started.
That's great. Love it. And why do you think people need a dating coach?
Oh my goodness. Because sometimes they just mess it all up. Like they just mess it all up. I like to tell ladies, it's like this. Think about a gym membership, right? You can go to the gym, you sign up. You could go for 6 weeks and get on the treadmill and do whatever. And then your jeans are still tight, right? Like your jeans are still tight. However, you go to the gym and on day one, you say, you know what? I want to work with a trainer. And they say, cool, we'll set you up for an appointment. You work out with that trainer one time and you can't walk for 3 days. That's what hiring me feels like, right? So yes, you can go online, you can do your own thing. However, you may not get the results you're looking for. But when I work with you, I don't just do, I'm going to just put you online. No, there's a process, right? Like everyone is not my client because everyone is not ready to date, right? So I'm very much so in tune with helping women do the heart work, right? Making sure your heart is even ready and clear and open. And then figuring out like, what do you want? Like, are you looking for a serious relationship or are you in a place where you're like, you know what? Just want to meet some new people. I've been off the dating scene for a while. And then the other big thing and benefit of working with me as a dating coach is there's so many women who go online, but one bad experience and they are done. They're like, I don't want to do this. This is crazy. And so having someone to hold your hand and keep you inspired and encouraged. I hear it from ladies all the time. They're like, if I didn't have you right now, girl, I would have been logged off. I would have gone. And, I got a message today from someone saying, hey, Tera, I'm going off the apps. I just met 2 wonderful guys. I'm going to see what comes of it. Now, here's the backstory. She and I started working together, I want to say last April. She was not ready. She paid her money. She was not ready. And she avoided me. She missed appointments. She went radio silent on me for many months. But because, again, I knew that she was kind of working through some stuff. So I was always like, hello, like sending a message to her. We're going to get on this. And so she finally circled back around December. She's like, okay, I think I'll be ready in January. Sure enough, she was ready. We put her on a new app and then bam, like I said, just today got that message saying, hey, I've met a couple of great guys. So again, if she were doing this on her own, she would have been like, screw this. I don't care. I'll be single until my kids get out of high school and then I'll finally focus on me. But because she had someone there rooting for her and saying, hey, I'm ready when you are. I got you. I'll support you through this. Ready when you are. It just made it an easier transition for her to actually move forward. So that's honestly what the benefit of working with me as your coach feels like. It's just you have somebody in that fight with you. You're not doing it alone.
Your need to educate and assist singles compelled you to start your own company and offer classes and workshops. Can you give us a glimpse about how the classes work and what people will learn?
Yeah, I love my classes. It's called the Smart Girl's Guide to Digital Dating, right? The whole brand is about being smart when it comes to online dating. And here's what I've found, Brittany. There are women who are bosses in their careers, right? They are like that boss ladies. And so when it comes to dating, though, they feel, oh my God, I should know how to do this, right? Like I should know how to do this. And so when they finally realize, I don't know how to do it, and it's okay that I don't know how to do it, they show up for this class, and I keep them small, right? Because it's a private event. It's an environment where you literally have my ear for 2 hours, right? And so I teach them about the different dating sites. I teach them how to put their profiles together, because a lot of ladies, even if you go online, some of them strike out because they got the wrong pictures, the bio is wrong, all those things are lacking. And then my favorite thing that I do is I teach them how to actually flirt with men. There's so many people who go online and they just sit there. That's right? Like that's not online dating at all. You have to be engaged in the process. And so for me, teaching them in, again, a small group setting where you have that one-on-one access to me truly does allow them to greatly benefit. So my classes, honestly, that's probably one of my most favorite parts of my business, is having those classes, because ladies come to those classes and get results. 2 former students are now married.
Wow. Yay! Let's celebrate. Woo woo. Yes. As a dating expert, what are your thoughts on the coronavirus and dating? Are people afraid to date because of the pandemic?
The pandemic absolutely shifted how women and men saw dating. But in my opinion, it shifted it for the better, because what it did was it allowed people to realize you don't have all the time in the world. You do not have all the time in the world. And as much as you've planned your life and things out, with the blink of an eye, it could change. And so you have people who maybe at the beginning of 2020 was like, this is going to be my year to date. This is my year that I'm going to move out. And then you have the whole world shut down around you, right? And so I think for a lot of the ladies who showed up in my classes, as much as they had avoided the idea of online dating, because they're like, no, I can meet him at church. I can meet him, at work or traditionally at the grocery store. That didn't exist anymore. And so women had to finally take stock on, well, where the heck am I going to meet him? I'm just here at the house, and now I'm really just here at the house. All those things that they busied their lives with didn't exist anymore. So I think for a lot of women, it made them put dating on their to-do list in a true fashion, like in a real, like you got to put some effort behind it. So I think for a lot of ladies, it was beneficial. I've had a lot of ladies who've met men during the pandemic, right? And so when you think about like the safety components, yes, we had to do more virtual dates. Yes, instead of having to sit down at a restaurant, 2 feet from one another, you're walking in a park with someone or walking in a mall. So it changed those things, but I also think it changed for the better the fact that it made ladies have to put dating on their calendar, on their to-do list.
Yes. What are typical actions you see women do that prevents them from getting the man they want?
Wow. So, you know what? And I won't even base it so much on getting the man they want versus the results they want, right? Okay. And so I would say the first thing is they really haven't done the work on their hearts, right? They're not in a place of being open. They're still bringing baggage. They're still bringing hurts and traumas, in which we all go through. And I completely am a proponent of talk therapy and working through whatever you need to. They even bring those bad experiences with them, Brittany, and that shows up with them, kind of being negative when they go online, right? And so you find these ladies they don't even realize it, but their profile bio looks like this. I'm not gonna, if you do this, don't message me. And if you do that, don't message me. And please don't contact me. And they don't realize it, but they're bringing all of that negative energy. And a good guy, he don't want to be bothered with that. Like, he's not trying to be bothered with that. Now, Boo Boo the fool, Sammy the clown, he is going to be attracted to that, right? He's going to say, oh, yeah, that's my kind of girl. Because, see, I'm not like that, even though he is. And so I think that that's one of the biggest things that I see ladies doing by, again, that energy. Another thing is they really, really, really take it too seriously. I know that sounds random because you're like, wait, it's dating. We should take it seriously. But not in all cases. You need to have fun. When I share my story, I'm very, very, very clear to say, when I went online, I was looking to have fun. I was not looking for a husband. I was open to the process of dating, open to the process of meeting new people. And there's so many people out there who have this clock ticking, It's like that energy will nelike yield what you're looking for, because you're kind of like, it's so rigid instead of it being open to the process. And so I really like their energy, and then missing out on the fun part of the journey really, really hampers a lot of ladies from having a good experience in dating in general, whether it's online or just, you might have met him at the grocery store and peeked over your mask and say, okay, I like him,
Yeah, and I also think people want this perfect person. Like, they create this virtual person in their mind, and they're out there trying to find that exact same person. He may not be as attractive, but he may have all the other qualities that you want, and vice versa. So I think a lot of times they hurt themselves by creating this image of the person that they want, and they're searching for that particular person, and they're letting everybody else, all these other good men, like, pass them by because of what they are wanting.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that there are so many ladies who, I recently had a lady who came to one of the classes, and she went online and she was like, she initially thought she wanted to meet Black guys. Well, the guy who pursued her was a white guy. And so she messaged, she's like, what do you have me doing? Like, what is going on? I never thought that this, and I'm like, this is the thing, this is the process, right? Being open to the process, because if he hits all of the other criteria, why not be open, right? Like, why not be open to that process? So I think you're absolutely right that sometimes women are so rigid about what they think it's supposed to look like that they miss out on checking all of those other qualities that person does hit. And that's why I've been doing vision board parties, because a lot of ladies don't really even have a vision for what they want their next relationship to look like. And I was a woman who had a vision board when I met my husband, right? And so I know the importance of, if you do it from a quality standpoint, instead of it being, oh, well, he needs to be this tall and this and have this. If you do it from a quality standpoint, once you meet someone, you could literally sit there and do the little checklist, like, oh, bam, yep, hit that, instead of just looking at the physical and exterior that gets a lot of ladies tripped up, because sometimes what looks great and what is shiny is not always what's best for you.
That is true. There is a common statement regarding relationships which says, the one who cares the least holds the most power in the relationship. How true is this statement, and is it a reasonable mindset to have in a relationship?
That is so interesting. Oh my goodness. So here's the flip side of that. There's some manipulation and control in that, right? The one who cares the least holds the most power. I don't want to be in anything like that. That's a very manipulative situation, because what we're doing is we're training ourselves to not even be true to what our emotions are, right? You might like that person, but you're playing these games. Like, remember back in the day, the book, The Rules? That book came out when I was in college, and I was like, this book is a hot mess. And it was all about the rules that ladies needed to follow, like, don't call him back, and don't do this. And it was like, are you kidding me? Like, if you like him, let him know you like him. Because if he's on board, hopefully he's mature enough to say, hey, I like you as well. Like, I like you. I want to get to know you. So I don't subscribe to the mental games that people play when it comes to dating. I'm very clear with my ladies, even down to, unfortunately there are times where ladies will communicate with guys or even go on a date and then they don't hear from a guy, right? It's called ghosting. I'm okay with my ladies circling back one time just to make sure the thing is truly the thing, right? Because sometimes stuff happens, right? I give everybody a little bit of grace. And so I'm okay with them saying, hey, John, just checking in. Thought we had a great date, but completely understand if you don't feel the same way. Just let me know, wish you the best. Because what happens, Brittany, is as women, we go making up stories in our head. We go making up stories as to why he didn't call us back and what did it mean? What did I do wrong? And what's wrong with me? Instead of just saying, hey, maybe he wasn't interested, right? Maybe he wasn't interested, but that's on him, and I'm not going to take that in as something that I did wrong or that I did badly. And so I really am about communication. And so when we talk about not showing your emotions from a control standpoint, that's a vicious cycle. Like that's real toxic kind of love. And we don't do that in She Dates Savvy land. So hopefully none of the ladies are out there. It's like the old school adage where the grandmas used to tell ladies, make sure he like you more than you like him. That's one thing. Because you do want somebody who really is into you. And I think that if both people find that, then I think you got a hell of a relationship on your hands, right? Like especially if they can articulate and communicate it. But I do not want to play games about holding power and control because it's just toxic.
Well, we know that you have a beautiful love story, and I would like you to share it for everyone to hear.
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing about my story, and again, why I do what I do. I saw my husband's profile. I sent him a message. Let's let that sink in, because a lot of ladies go online and they just sit and wait, right? They're in a place of like, well, I'm gonna be like Ruth, and I'm just gonna go about my business, and I'm gonna let him find me. And I'm like, you better read that whole story. You better read that whole story. And so I was in a position where I allowed him to know I was ready to be found. And so I sent that message to him. And it literally started on a Sunday evening. We talked that Monday night on the phone, had our first date that Wednesday, second date that Friday. And 6 years later, we're still standing, right? And it was one of those things where the timing just aligned. Like it was just time for both of us. I had just gotten out of something, and that's one of the things I talk about in my book, Smart Girls Still Don't Date Dumb. But I was done with that relationship for many reasons for long before I left, right? Because what do we do sometimes? We think stuff and we just, going through the motions. And for me, because I am a believer, I know that the minute I let it go, God was like, okay, bam, now I can give you what I had for you.
That is
now
so
I can give you what I had for you. And that really allowed me the space and the opportunity to see him show up in a way that I was like, wow, God, you had all this for me. Like you had the man I literally had prayed for on so many levels. That's what he had for me. And so it just, again, it was a random interaction with someone who, when I saw his picture, I always laugh. I tell ladies, I'm like, don't do what I did. I wrote in the subject line. This is when Max used to let you write in subject lines. I was like, the spirit shines through. But it was true. Like there was something about him that I read and that I saw that made me just say like, whoa, I gotta know him. Right? Like I gotta know him, and here we go.
Yay! Well, congrats on that 6 years and a lifetime to go. Let's talk about your book, Smart Girls Still Don't Date Dumb. First, what inspired you to choose that title, and what is the book about?
Okay, so my first book was Smart Girls Don't Date Dumb, right? Because as I kept thinking about how I was going to share my story, it had to be in a way of a how to, but how not to date story, right? And so it really came out of, again, me wanting to share my story, but my story wasn't just going to be like, oh, here's some dating advice. I needed women to understand my full story. I needed them to understand me leaving Los Angeles, me leaving a relationship, me meeting my husband, me morphing into this dating coach. And it really, it was hard. It was hard to write because by nature, I'm a private person. And so here I am, Brittany, I got to tell you a lot of my ugly, right? A lot of my you know, like my stuff, like things that we just don't talk about. Like you talk about it with your girlfriends, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to write this down and put it in a book. And, you know, but what I know was that in sharing my story, there were going to be other women out there who would get free, because sometimes when you think it's just you, like when you think, oh, I'm the only one who's been in a dumb relationship, then you don't necessarily, you just feel isolated. And so me sharing my story was my way of letting ladies know, hey, it's not just you. It's not just you. And so it really became a beautiful testament to that. And so the second book was a follow-up. So in the first book, I talked about, it starts off with me talking about a song that I used to sing with my mom when I was a little girl. Denise Williams, Silly, right? Silly of me. So it was that song. And so, and I just kind of brought it up to speed, like ladies have been dating dumb for a while. Like Denise was dating dumb back then, and we realized what she was doing. And then with the second book, because it's here on my desk, with the second book, I brought it up to date. And because again, I'm still like this old school music head, and I remember the ladies around me who used to listen to the blues and R&B and Natalie Cole and all that. And so this book, I literally again went back to the music, and I said, you know, I remember growing up, and Betty Wright, when she did those songs, Betty Wright would be like, well, remember I told you this, and then, you know, I'm back to give you part two. And so this was my part two of ladies who have been in a place of, you know, now we're many years in. We're 4 years into this marriage. And so being able to show how life had changed for us, and even following the guide of Michelle Obama with the becoming, right? Like how I got here. So this was again, it brought you through my story, but it also showed you how I became those things. So there's a part here that says becoming my dreams come true, right? Like it's like how did I become like, oh, my dreams came true? How did that happen? So I love this book. I love the way my story came out, and many women have said the same. And my husband wrote a chapter in the book called Kissing. Yeah, because he talks about giving women, you know, telling women what it looks like when you're. He believes that in every man there's a kid or a king. And depending on who's running the kingdom at the time is how he's going to show up. And so he gives examples to a lady of, hey, here's what you're getting. When a man does this, you're dealing with the king. When he does this, you're dealing with the kid, you know? And so, yeah. So
that's good. That's great that you got your husband's feedback to be in the book too.
I was like, I need to write a whole chapter. Write it.
Please let everyone know how they can purchase the book.
Absolutely. They can go to my website, shedatesavvy.com. And because y'all know everything is always delayed on delivery, I have actual books, but I also have it now in a digital format, so they can immediately download it and start reading as well, because delivery times, oh my God, like that was getting crazy, especially in the height of a pandemic, because I released book 2 last summer, like in July-ish. And so it was like, oh my God, it's taking forever to get to people. So yeah, they can find it on my website.
And digital is good, you know, you can just have it right there on your phone, just read.
Right there on your phone. Like stay on track, stay on target, date savvy, right here on your phone. Yep.
What other sector do you see yourself joining in the next few years, since you're already in the entertainment and dating industry?
I would love to see a merge of those two. Okay. I would love to see a merge of more appearances, more opportunities, even my own dating show. Like I think that's a natural progression, because there are women and men who need help in the dating arena beyond just the online dating component. One of the things that I'm introducing in the next months is a group coaching program. And it's not so much specifically about online dating, it's about dating and relationships as a whole, because I understand, like I said, we got to start at the beginning. We got to get our hearts right. And so I totally see an opportunity in a lane for me to show up in my own vehicle, and helping and coaching and teaching and, you know, with some entertainment, but authentic to who I am and what I do. Like, I don't do hokey, crazy, cheesy, like that ain't me. I'm not that person. But just one of my taglines is dating advice with heart. So being able to continue giving ladies just that. I absolutely see the entertainment side and the dating side merging and me having my own thing.
Okay, nice. And talk about your podcast.
So I have this thing where I have conversations. It's called She Dates Savvy Presents Men Decoded. So again, there's a whole lot of me, right? Like all of my social is me talking and me telling and me helping. But I know, and the same as in the book where I had husband write a chapter, because I'm like, they got to hear from a man. The She Dates Savvy Men Decoded is just that. It's me having conversations with men that I find interesting, whether they are personal friends, whether they are people you've seen on television, or if they're just people who I think are really cool. It's me having conversations with them because I want women to hear from men, right? And it's not a how to get it right, ladies. No, because I don't like that kind of talk at women. I don't want people telling women that they're so wrong and this, that, and it's just listening to a male's perspective on dating and love and relationships. So I have a new episode coming up at the end of the month, and I'm interviewing a guy who was on a reality love show recently, right? A love reality show. So just kind of talking to him about dating and relationships and things like that. Again, so women can hear it from a male's perspective and not making up those stories in our heads. And that's on my IGTV page. They can go and find some of the old episodes and then, you know, look forward to the new ones coming out.
Yay. Well, please let everyone know how they can connect with you. You becoming their online dating coach and helping them find a man, and for them to continue to follow you and connect with your podcast and all those things.
Absolutely. So I am super visual online. I am super responsive. You can find, the best place to find me is on Instagram, and that is at She Dates Savvy. So that's SHEDATES SAVVY. You can follow me there. I've got a link tree that has links to every single thing, whether it's a class, whether it's a vision board party, whether it's one-on-one coaching. If a lady says, well, I want to reach out to you, Tera, because I want to talk to you. I need to talk to you privately. Like, if you need to pull me to the side, everything is there on that Instagram page. You can DM me. I'm super responsive. I mean, look at us. We're here because we started with an online connection. And so I'm absolutely open to people contacting me and reaching out. But that's how you can reach me.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the show. And I look forward to seeing more of your work in the future.
Thank you, Brittany. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in today. See you next time.